Here it is, 100%. It is charging complete. So I'm probably going to go ahead and unplug it. Hey guys, doing another video today. Update on our Model 3 Standard Range Plus and the battery degradation. Today I tried charging it up to 100%. Had to wait about 45 minutes once it was actually set at 100%. It said it was 100%, but it still had 45 minutes to charge. So went ahead and waited for that to complete, and now it does say charging complete. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug it. And of course, once I start from 100%, you definitely need to drive as soon as possible, because you do not want to leave your battery at 100% for any extended period of time. So we're going to go ahead and drive it a little bit, and this is probably going to be a two-part video, because we're going to probably make another update next week and see if we get any of our range back for the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. Originally it's supposed to have 240 miles range, and lately it has said 220 miles range at 100%. So we're going to see if charging to 100% once a week or so does help get it recalibrated and show a higher state of charge at, or a higher range at 100% state of charge. I do think that it could maybe adjust it a little bit, but let's see what it does. And after we do the update on the battery degradation for the Model 3 Standard Range Plus, we do have over 30,000 miles on the Standard Range Plus Model 3. We are going to do the same thing actually on the Model Y and see how the battery degradation is doing on that. And we have over 10,000 miles on the Model Y, so it'll be interesting to do the test on that as well. So we will check in on that one in another video and probably do the same thing, charge it up to 100% once a week, and see over the course of 2 weeks if that helps and recalibrates it to show a higher range at 100% state of charge. So it has been a couple minutes, getting ready to leave, and turns out that actually it is already displaying 99% instead of 100%. So I'm going to actually go ahead and see what it says display wise of the range at, in this case, 99%. Oh, there it is. 220 miles is what is displayed now at, in this case, 99%. Pretty sure that's what was displayed at 100%. But again, this is really just a test of what it's going to be the second time we do that 100% calibration, because I don't think it's going to do anything for this first time. So we're going to get it out and drive around a little bit, get that battery down off of 100%. Of course, we don't want it to be sitting there for too long, and then we'll check back again later, and I'll go over all the numbers here in Teslafy, because I know Teslafy is where I'm going to be able to get all of the actual data points indicating what the car says at each state of charge. And that is actually very handy in this scenario, because it's hard to catch it at 100% when it actually gets there. Also, one note, hard to see here on the display now because they've made this very tiny and doesn't have actually a whole lot of color to it, but we have very little regenerative braking. So you can see just that line to the left of the darker line there indicates the regenerative braking that we have, and all the dotted line means that we do not have that regenerative braking. Right now the car is actually going to roll a little bit more instead of braking when it's slowing down. So that's, you know, definitely a different driving experience. So that's one thing I don't like about charging up to 100%, is just for the driving dynamics. I actually like the regenerative braking, and so you actually lose that when charge it up to 100%. A little update here on the regenerative braking. At 92%, we still are very shy of, we probably have half of the full regenerative braking available to us. Now, maybe partially due to the temperature, but I think also because it's a Standard Range Plus Model 3 with that smaller battery, that also limits the amount of regenerative braking that you get at those higher percent. Probably had to get down to maybe 85% battery or 80% battery even to get that full regenerative braking. Again, not a big deal, but it does change driving dynamics. At this point, it does seem to drive pretty much as normal as expected, with that amount of regenerative braking, about half. So it actually does pretty well with that. So to my surprise, we actually have gained a little bit of range here with the 100% charge that we did this morning on the Model 3 Standard Range Plus. So it had most recently been 219.69 miles of range indicated at 100% charge, and after the 100% charge that we actually did today, it is at 221 miles displayed. So that is with 31,707 miles on the odometer. And actually now, as it's not on the charger at the moment, it's a 91% charge. It is at 31,718.17 miles. So you can see actually here, I have the chart up on Teslafy, and it shows the average range for the fleet. So all Model 3 Standard Range Plus cars with around 31,600 miles, 700 miles range. It shows that the average range at 31,700 miles is around 223.87 miles, which is actually only 2 or 3 miles more than what I show now on my Standard Range Plus Model 3. So actually, I'd like to see what happens in a week here when I do another 100% charge and see if it actually does display as much as 224. That would be amazing if it did. If not, there's plenty of range. It's just like the Standard Range Model 3. Actually, when I purchased it, was 220 miles. This is the Standard Range Plus. So with the right now indicated 8.6% battery degradation, I still have 221 miles, and so that's actually plenty for all the road trips that we've done in the Model 3. Because of that supercharger network, it's totally fine. But I would like to see what we actually get when we charge up to 100% a couple times and maybe calibrate that battery. There may actually be a little bit more range in there than I thought. And you can also see from the chart, it quickly, for the first 15,000 miles or so, went from the 240 mile range down to the, actually it got lower than 220. But since about, looks like 16,000 miles, it has basically not changed at all. So it's basically leveled out for the past 15,000 miles, and it is just sitting steady at around 220 miles of range. So there was a little bit of an increase for a while there for some reason, and then another dip. I think the dip here translates to when we were, so that's when we were on quarantine, weren't driving it very much. So that kind of happened then, and then tried to change the state of charge to 70% instead of 90% to see if that helped with that. And since we've been charging it to 70%, while it's just been sitting around mostly because we drive the Model Y mostly, it has leveled out at the 220s. I think that the range that we've lost is probably about the most it's ever going to lose. It doesn't seem like it's going to lose anymore. We'll see. I mean, I'll check back in. And again, I will have a part 2 for this video on the Model 3 Standard Range Plus battery degradation update next week after we do another 100% charge and drive around a little bit and see if the calibration does anything for it. But overall, I'm pretty happy with that 221 miles of range after 31,700 miles. And because, again, it is plenty of range to do road trips. And speaking of which, they just announced that Model Y standard range, 244 miles. Now, that's not a lot of miles. Obviously, range is king, but I can say from personal experience that it is plenty of range to get the job done for road trips, as long as you're willing to plan them out and you know what you're getting into, because it will take a little bit longer at superchargers and you will have to plan a little bit better, but it definitely is doable. So that we'll save a little more conversation on that in another video, but for now I just wanted to have this update on the Model 3 Standard Range Plus battery degradation. And so what did you think? Is 8.6% battery degradation after 31,000 miles good, or do you think that's a little bit more than you were expecting? Again, I think it's leveled off for the past 15,000 miles, so I'm pretty happy about that. All right, so thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.